Good afternoon, all. I think Anand's session is making this empty, right? Okay, okay, that's understandable. So, good afternoon, everyone. Uh, oh, good. There are people after lunch who are speaking, right? At least my team itself is also not speaking, so I think this is better. Good. So I think we'll start with the session. I am Siva. I'm delivery head for Quadrant, especially on the data and AI. I lead the data and AI. And the Quadrant is a service-oriented company. We are pretty much called as um, um, data and AI company, and including the cloud as well. So cloud and data. So we can start the presentation. Okay, great, thanks. So this is something you can read it, basically advancing onboarding in narcotics enforcement in innovative AI companion, right? Narcotics, right? Okay, so narcotics is like, very interesting topic, right? For media, everyone, right? Including us, Friday evening. Right. So, yeah. So, pretty interesting concept. So, before I'm going to here, we want to give a brief background of this. We have been working with Telangana state government, where we have been engaging in a lot of application building. So, one of the ask we have got over a period of, probably 7-8 months back from their narcotics department, stating that they are not able to cases, their narcotic cases, they are not able to handle them well. Okay, in the sense, especially when they are going to the judgment stage or when it's in a prosecution stage, they were not able to handle it well. So they put a problem statement to us, and they asked like if you can provide a solution, right? So it's not very complex. I think when I start telling you the problem, you'll be able to correlate for most of the stuff, right? So one of the challenges which they had was to the normal any cases which they deal, like anything related to, for the matter of theft, murder, or anything. The ground team on the any police enforcement guys who are at till root level, constable level, has the enough information or enough capability to handle them, because they have been dealing with these cases for quite a long time, right? They know how to collect the evidence, how to do things, how you can put a case, how do you do FIR and all, right? So, but however, when it comes to narcotics cases, the primary challenge they had, the one of the information lacking, right? So the ground team doesn't had the enough training done, nor the data which was available, which was not in probably in a segregated way, right? So that was a big challenge. And then because of the narcotics cases has a stringent evidence collection process, in the sense when you find a substance, when I say substance, it's any drug or cocaine, whatever it is, you have to handle them carefully, in the sense like how you seize them, how you store them, how you present them, how you carry them. So there is a different, all process is completely different, right? So that is the one problem. And the second, and the third, which I can say, is the uniqueness of the cases also. Though especially the uniqueness of the cases in the sense like when you get foreign nationals involved, or for that matter, if you find a large drug cartel, example probably 100 kgs, 200 kgs of cocaine, or you can say that probably a chemical substance which can be made, it is in a raw form, but it doesn't really, is not a drug at this moment of time, but probably it can be used, right? So there are different scenarios wherein have the different procedures to follow, and there is a lot of legal intricacies which is especially on the approvals perspective, or the when you want to really have it observe this, and then how do you actually handle that situation, right? It has a different scenarios, like, if you have to probably take the approvals from your higher management, or the, like, as a DIG level, or it is going to be at least, it has to go to the court, session court, whatever it is, right? So there are different scenarios here. Okay, so all this actually leads to their inefficiency to file a FIR properly, in the sense, like, they can't put the enough information into the FIR. Now that leads to the problem, because case is not strong, and you have to deal with the cross examinations with the lawyers, so where they'll properly. Okay, so that's where, like, the challenge is, because they don't have the enough mechanism to collect this information, right? So all these are, like, tending them to become a weak case, in the sense, and they are losing the lot of cases in the court because of this. So I think you have seen, like, lot more times you see that there is a ride, you have been caught, but the 2 days drama in newspaper, media, then I don't know what happens after that, right? So typically, so that's the scenario, right, which I was trying to chase there. Okay, any luck, guys? Sure, thanks. Okay, so yeah, so this is the problem statement. Now, probably when you look at this problem statement, maybe you would have got an idea what could be a solution also, right? So what could be the solution? Yeah, good. So probably the idea is, yeah, structured data. Structured data is also makes sense. And the idea is to build a bot, right? Which is a bot, probably where you can, like, ask these native language questions on the ground team, probably police, even a constable kind of a person. I can ask. I've been, like, I found a guy with 10 grams of cocaine. Right now, what should I do? Right now, that will tell them, like, okay, these are the 3-4 steps or 5 steps which you need to do immediately. Right now, subsequently, you'll ask what the next. Then it will give you the lot more steps. Right now, this is the scenario which we wanted to build. Right, and this was an idea which we have been, like, been inculcating and presented with them, and Telangana government has a very good team called, there is an emerging technologies, okay, which typically like have all the latest technologies they built, and they see how that can be applied on the government sector or any public-private sectors, right? So, so this is one of the area where when we have discussed with them, I mean, they agreed the idea of the chatbot, and we started building the bot, right? Now, so I think I need slides from here. Yeah, sure. Sure, yeah.
You mentioned you are building a boat.
Correct.
And that's for?
That's for the police personals who are on the ground. It could be an inspector, or it could be.
Available for the people also?
No, it's not available. Right now, I think it's a state where we have done the pilot, and which is been given to like around 200, 300 people. We have been testing that. So I think eventually in the down the line 2-3 months, we'll be rolling out for the entire police force for that. Okay, it's typically, it's not for the not the the normal public. It's more for the yeah. Cool. Okay, so I think this is all we have already discussed. I think which was explaining the problem statement for you, and this is a quadrant AI solution which I spoke to, right? Now this is the bot name is NarcGuideBot, guys. I mean, right? Very odd, right? Yeah. So what is the problem? My team member Renuka, she suggested this name. I asked, like, why? Then she said that GPT gave that name. Okay. Now GPT gave that name. I asked, like, give some more names, right? I mean, like, then said that it's liked by the client. So now, no chance, right? So you have to deal with it. At least next time when I meet them, I'll ask them, let's just please change the name, right? I mean, I'm not liking it. Okay, so it's going to be an AI-powered assistance narcotic investigations. Basically, it is assisting the police force. So that's the tagline of it. Okay. So from here, right, I'm not jumping into the details of the architecture here because you might have seen the bot architecture probably in last 2 days multiple times, right? So I'm not getting into there. Rather, I'll give you a journey of what we have been going through with this, so that in as a process, I'm going to explain you where were the problems, challenges which we have faced, and it could be technical, non-technical as well. So we started. I mean, I'll start the journey with its challenges and fine tuning, and that is where I state about even from the starting from the data extraction and all, right? So yeah. So first thing is the data collection. So data collection was predominantly has these two are the major portions of that. One is your Narcotic Control Bureau website, where you have the all the information which is on the act related, which is pure on the how act defines, and then there are some procedures and things which are predominantly been followed across the probably country and all, which is very generic. And this is only the 27% of the overall data which we have got. Then the next comes the internal notes on the NDPS Act. The challenge is here lies. Basically, the lot of like each departments, like let's say a narco department Hyderabad, narcotics department Bombay, narcotics or something else, right? So have their own procedures and all, which are predominantly written either into their native languages or to the native conditions, or there is not large amount of sharing of the data. So they have a lot of information which has been written on notes in the multiple formats, like probably some electronically, some are handbooks, some are some bunch of papers. Okay, so there's a lot of data which is out there, almost like 63% of the data which is out there in a different format. So this is the two source of informations which we have got initially to deal with, right? Now, but the challenge here, what we faced was, though we have this data, the data edge conditions, which I was talking about earlier also, there are different scenarios which you are talking about, like when you, like, we have Gujarat, like, so many tons of has been caught, right? So these are all edge scenarios, right? So, and there were intricacies how some FIRs are being particularly written or particularly dealt in the previous scenarios and all. So those kind of information is not readily available, right? Now, thanks to the team again, Lalsa, she has been like very instrumental in collecting this data. Predominantly, we collected the data into the various reports like police reports, past cases, cross-examination data, and external sources, case judgments and all, which is predominantly contains a lot of information, which especially on the edge cases scenarios, right? So all this been collected and then been modeled, right? So now this was the whole process of the data collection which we went through. And now I move to the data extraction part. Data extraction, it's a pretty standard because you have the documents, PDFs and all. You typically end up in doing the OCR, right? Your paddle OCR favorite, right? So the challenge with the paddle OCR was especially on the documents where we have the humongous amount of the table information, where you have the multiple columns and the column cells has the different data, even including the some workflows and all. So which when we tried using that, it really felt that we were not able to do as much. So so it was giving us only a 60 to 65% of the accuracy. Now what we have done is on top of that. Again, this is again credit goes to Nikhil, my one team member. So he has been brought into the table transformer architecture, which has been built on top of the data. So the table transformer has the ability to detects the table. Table detection is a one model where you take the image. First of all, you detect the table, and then you recognize the structure of the table, right? And then subsequently, deal that with columns, rows, or cells, and then extract the data out of it. So what was the problem with the parallel OCR? It probably sequentially collects the data, but it collects the data but doesn't give you a meaningful insight of it. Okay. Now when you do this way, you have the table structure properly defined, so you can collect you can always resemble the data again back and then collect the data. Okay. So this is one of the challenge, and this table transformer architecture on solved with the parallel OCR. Right. So next I'm jumping into, this was all on the data side of the thing, and now it's a more on the model side of things. So model, I think we have used Llama 65B because this was started probably more than like 7-8 months back, where Llama 2 was just coming in. We went on to the Llama 65B, and then we used the LoRa technique. So I think this has also been enough talked in the last 2 days. So I'm not getting into that, where we have done the instruction learning, and then also especially domain specific learning, which we have made done. And this is what the data is getting trained to the model, right? Now, what is the challenge we have faced here? Typical hallucination, right? If hallucination, especially on the varying responses for similar prompts, right? Because I think I think because a police personnel can have, if I ask a question, it can't have a different answers, right? It confuses them. So you have to make sure that your answer is accurate, at least not on the verbiage perspective, but overall perspective it has to be done. So I think it's a pretty, I mean, the days when we were started this, pretty little difficult one, but I think the temperature settings and all, which you close to made it to 0 to make this happen, right? Now, the second one was the context relevance. Context relevance was more on the, especially when you ask certain question, whether from which area you are getting the information. Suppose, let's say, if I am asking for a simple thing, that what is the section for narcotics peddling, right? So that ideally it has to go into the Narcotics Act and get this information. Rather, it should not go into the cases and get this information, right? Because it may have that information finally, right? So this is where it has context relevancy was very, very important, because at times the responses were not good, right? So for this one, again, we have been going to the context vector databases. We have defined the vector databases for specific to each set of data, so that you can before even the there are two scenarios, probably, like one, before even going querying, like you can assess what kind of a query it is and go to the respective database and get the information, or similarity checks you can do, like what information you are getting, and then so again, thanks here your Rohan and Renuka, like these are the guys who has been able to like fix these issues. So so this is predominantly on the model side of the things. Coming to the results, this was very interesting, because we have been like, there is no automation here, there is no mechanism to deal with. So we had to stick to the manual, and we have like worked with a lot of police personnel. I just spoke about the pilot state. We were doing it 200 to 300 people, where we have like went on to like test on the 1500 prompts. Like there were like 43 of them were correct, right? So I think there are still more edge cases which are still have to evolve. I think as a model, it is much more matured in the sense of looking at the data is Llama 65B, which was like on the base models, which we are, these are the numbers, and the NarcGuideBot one was giving us 83.6%. So which is predominantly okay, because this is not solving their problem exactly to be what to be done, rather it is guiding them, right? So you don't really need 100% of the accuracy here, but yeah, I think we can still cover the edge cases that makes it more better, right? So yeah, I think future directions, we are again putting on the reinforcement learning onto this, and then Indic languages, which is another thing which we are trying a lot here, because of the this is again all the law enforcement related kind of a content. So we have to be sure that how your Indic languages behaves on this, because the end of the story is given by the root people, which they may be easy to understand English or not. So so we have trying it on the Indic languages. And data collection also, we have trying to do a lot of predefined forms and all. I think also generating at least a raw FIR for them to guiding the writing the FIR with all the relevant data, right? And also we are doing I think one more I remember, but I think yeah. These are the future directions. So this is something it looks. I think the UI has to be still more need to be refined. I think we have given it for this, but the more or less it is something like this. We have the bot. Okay. So thank you. I think this is the team which is part of this.